Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. This is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads. My name is Tom Ollerton, and we are brought to you as ever by our wonderful partners, Contagious.com, who send us innovative ads every week for us to review. But before we get to that ad, let's meet this week's guests.
Hello, guys. My name is Theresa Van Rooyen. I am the marketing director for Ghana in Africa, and it's part of the L'Oréal Group.
Hey, guys. My name is Henrik Gaida, director of digital media and data strategy at Procter & Gamble across the German-speaking markets, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Hey, everyone. I'm Matt Gosselin. I'm director of global product marketing at FIS.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Markey. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Boots in the UK and Ireland.
What a panel, spread evenly across the whole planet today. So I'm very pleased to have you here, guys. Thank you. So women's sport is getting increased coverage, which is great, but unfortunately still only makes up 7% of coverage. Heineken are working to change this through sponsoring UEFA Women's Champions League and the Euros, and through making female fans the centre of their football ads. So let's see this week's ads.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and a sweet silver song of a lark, and
So on a count of three, can you just hold up your fingers to give a vote? So 1, 2, 3. 3. Theresa, you're a 2. Henrik, you were a 3. And Pete, you're a 2. So Pete, what else was happening in this campaign for Heineken?
So look, I think Heineken has been a supporter of male football since 1994, and they only recently started joining the female football leagues and as a sponsor, which in my opinion is probably a little bit late. We have had female football fans for years, and today almost 50% of football fans are female. So to only really join the female discussion in 2021, when it became a topic, when it became a trend, and when it was clear that there's obviously money to make, I question a little bit the sincerity, to be honest.
There's two things here. That you either create an advertisement for brand or for product, or for one or the other. And the problem with this is there is a history with beer and women, and men for that matter. There's a history. If you replace Heineken with a new company with the same spot, what kind of appeal does that have to an audience?
Good question.
Does it all of a sudden start changing our perspective on this because of who is telling it? And I think that's something that needs to be looked at a little bit.
It's obviously they've got a long-term association with football, particularly women's football. So trying to champion all aspects of the sport, and not just through advertising, but how they've sort of got involved in the ground, on the grassroots up with football. But clearly they see football as having a great connection with them and their brand. They've widened out. They've done more with football over a period of time. UEFA to show the future of how football is seen and how supporters engage. So it's quite an ambitious program overall.
I think they nailed it on the head, right? It's all built around the insight that 2 of 3 women have experienced some sort of gender discrimination around the game of football, which obviously is something that, we shouldn't have in this day and age, and something that needs to be addressed. And I think it hits home with the current, consumers, the millennial and the Gen Z consumers who expect brands, to take a bit of a stand beyond kind of their core expertise area and align with their, moral compass and their values. And I think the campaign hits home directly in that.
I have a couple of qualms with this. Women prefer wine to beer, 59% to 23%. So this is a really big uphill battle for Heineken. So when you throw in a cultural relevance here, it becomes pretty complex for an advertising spot. I don't expect my beer to have emotions. I don't expect it to be on the cusp of a cultural movement. And I'm not saying those things aren't good attributes or things to go after. But apparently my Heineken beer, which has been around since 60s, it has strong convictions about the progressive female, and they're trying to build it into this particular spot because it's so specific to a type and on almost a stereotype. I'll go as far as saying that for this particular female within the soccer market. I think it comes across as pandering to a wider audience.
Of course, many women still prefer wine as beer, but I really think there's a big target to go after female soccer or football fans, because I think there's a huge opportunity. And we shouldn't look at consumers as very one-dimensional anymore. Consumers are becoming more and more multidimensional. So even though I prefer wine, I have occasions where I would drink beer. And for sure, when I watch a football match, I'm not sure wine would be my choice of beverage, even though I definitely do prefer wine. I think they have an opportunity here to really capitalize on a market which not many people have yet.
What I also like is that they didn't stop at, here's a 90-second video, this is the video and done, but they also did something about it. Yeah? And I think what they did is they flanked this video, and I think this was mentioned before, and I find that very cool. It's this website, Fresher Football, where they're trying to, ungender bias some of the facts around the game of football. Meaning, if you Google how many times has, Team X won the Champions League, for instance, all that shows up is the men's results and never the men's and women's results together, right? So what they did is they used some of their ad spend on Google AdWords to correct the facts around some of these questions and therefore drive a bigger discussion. If you don't know about this issue, you've never experienced it, for instance, you don't really know what the film is about until the last scene where it says even men, and then you get to thinking. Some people, I don't think they might realize that, what the core issue that they address in this film is. I showed it to one of my team members and she watched it for 90 seconds. She's a woman, she's far away from football. And then at the end, she's like, so what it is about? How is it men, right? And then I explained the rest of the campaign, and then she understood. But I think it's from the simple creative execution, it's not really clear because they are very sparse in terms of issue setup and then resolution in the end. Asking someone to watch a 90-second film is quite long, especially, in the digital space. I'm sure this is just the flagship asset that they then potentially cut down or brought a shorter format on TV.
We were on vacation on Monday, so I didn't get to share this with my team yet, but I did share it with my family. And I'll tell you, my 10-year-old soccer playing and insightful daughter said, I didn't like the beginning. Can we just start it halfway through? I think it's better off at 55 seconds and on. I think it gets to the meat of this story. And I think it's a powerful piece, from there on.
It's a real challenge, some of that stereotyping, isn't it? I could just picture a very different version of that where, just celebrates women's love of football in a really different way. It did feel like a missed opportunity. It's quite an interesting expression about how heavy-handed is sort of what I felt about the ad overall. Sometimes there's ads that sort of almost slap you in the face to try and make a point. And there could have been also a gentler touch to this that could have had probably a greater impact in terms of how they did it. Heineken have done way better work. One of my favorite things they did a few years ago is they did a longer film, about 3 minutes, with this social experiment where they got people who had a completely different opinion to each other to do a task together. And then at the end, they revealed their difference of opinion. And because they'd already become friends by working on a task together, they sat and had a beer and listened to each other's perspective on things. And it's an amazing film where you had a transgender lady and this guy was like really anti-trans. And it's a wonderful moment. They can try and change opinions for the better, but this was probably a bit too heavy.
Look, I think it's rather late than never. I'm happy they joined the club. I think for me, it was very obvious. It didn't feel sincere. It felt like this is a typical, they could just replace the males with female cast. The rest is exactly the same. I mean, in terms of the intimacy scenes where the female's kind of looking over the man's shoulder, that's exactly how I would feel men do it. Many football female fans also support their children. So I'm not saying you only want to support moms supporting their kids' football, but at least have a bit of a mix to bring that sincerity of women can be multidimensional. We're not only stereotypical compared to male sport fans. We have our own nuances. And why do they not portray that?
Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you all next week.